Yo, 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 guys, what is up? And welcome back to another episode of the Warriors Invitational. It's your boy Gautam with my boys Matt and Chuck. Gentlemen, welcome back. It's been a minute. We haven't potted since we talked about how the Warriors were going to beat Sacramento and then have a chance to go against New Orleans to get in that first round against the Thunder. Clearly, our offseason started way, way earlier than we thought going into that episode. But before we get into the hoops and everything like that, boys, how we doing, man? Welcome back. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed Cancun. Hope the offseason has been going well for you. But we're back on the grind now, back on the mic. So tell us how you been, guys. Chuck, how you been, brother?
Yeah, opted out of Cancun this year. I went more Aaron Rodgers with it. Just
Nice.
found a hole and took a bunch of psychedelics.
Yeah.
Really,
Ayahuasca trip.
yeah, you take enough mushrooms and you start to get into your LeBron era where you're like, you know what, there's bigger things than basketball. After just watching the worst basketball, that'll really do it to you. But yeah, no, man, I've been enjoying the hell out of these playoffs. We got Knicks and Pacers battling it out right now. I feel like every Knicks game has been within like two possessions for the entire 48 minutes, the entire playoffs, which has been sick. So yeah, man, just I'm enjoying the hell out of this. This has
Stress
been the
free.
most fun I've had watching the playoffs in a long time. How you doing there, Matthew?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. This has been blissful. Before we got on, we're kind of all just catching up a bit, and I mean it when I say this has been fucking great. This has been the happiest part of the basketball season for me so far. It's been great basketball. Excuse me, geez, no stress. Yeah, just good. I have nothing to complain about, man. Life's been solid, and it's just this has been the best playoff I can remember in a long time, man. So
Yeah, I
no
mean,
complaints.
2022 that definitely takes a cake. But I'm with you guys, man. It's been I never thought I'd be the one to say, I'm happy the Warriors aren't in it right now. Just after that shit show of a season, if we had to put up with it would like you said, just blissful couple weeks of enjoying the first round. It helps that the Lakers lost, the Suns lost. So now you really just get to watch kind of the next generation of the NBA stars. And the Jokic's, the Ants,
Weidman's.
yeah, shout out James Wiseman. Man, what could have been, right? But hey, speaking of James Wiseman, the Warriors, man, we offseason obviously started a lot way earlier than most of us. Um, I feel like most of us kind of wanted it to end. I'm not gonna lie. So offseason's probably started at the right time for all of us to just kind of put us out of the misery, get over the get over just what we saw this last season, Chuckster. Um, and a lot of shit just kind of like I feel like just kind of watching these playoffs unfold. Kind of just it kind of the Warriors had a lot of window dressing last year. It felt like like they were a good team at times. Obviously a bad team at times, and but just watching the level of competition right now, just in the Nuggets and the Nuggets and the T Wolves or the Mavs and the Thunder and even Boston out east. We had some good. Like the Knicks and the Sixers series was great. Like the Warriors definitely were not on the level of some of these teams, and it would have just been prolonging the inevitable for, the what this season was. But kind of just looking back onto I guess the Warriors season in review, where did you go wrong in your predictions kind of going into the year? What did we, I guess, as a collective, but like we'll start off with just you going into the season, what you thought was gonna unfold and how it obviously unfolded and just kind of where I guess we and the Warriors kind of missed the mark this season in terms of not being on this stage this year right now.
Yeah, so I know that going into the season, I mean, I was still tricked a little bit by that 2022 Devil Magic run. Um, so even though I was like not loving how the offseason went, there was still a part of me that was like, yeah, this team could go in and compete for home court, perhaps like get a top four seed. And I I still feel like that was fine. I mean, like they still finished with more wins than they did last year somehow. The West was unbelievably competitive. What I got wrong was allowing this team to trick me at multiple points of the season to think that they were actually serious. That was definitely where I went wrong because now when you get to sit back and look at it, you're like, oh, well, this just felt extremely predictable based on what we saw all year, aside from that one run around the Draymond return where they went like 17-3, which, turned the season around record wise. But, I think then they really got back on their bullshit towards the end of the season. And that should have been the sign that, yeah, this team is just, the delusion was so strong with me that I was going into the play and I was like, yeah, they could win their way through this. Like they can take 2 games on the road for sure. So yeah, I mean, I think I should have just stuck with my guns on preseason of like, this team has an outside shot at being competitive, but really there's just not enough ammo right now for them to be the kind of team they need to be. Matt, what'd you see out there?
Yeah. So I think it was a weird season, and I want to start with like this team won 46 games, is that right?
47?
46, 47
46.
games. Listen, the top four seed thing isn't like dumb in hindsight. Like Draymond missed 20 plus games for all kinds of reasons. And if he doesn't, and if Wiggins and Clay don't have this like Kelly Oubre Wiggins 2019, 2020 start to the season, the things are different. So it's kind of just weird. This team, just to your early, belief in this team, I don't think it was the stupidest thing. There was a 50 plus win team in there, and I think it's a few Draymonds go a little differently, and life's different. But I think there was never a world where this roster was winning a championship. And I think I can't speak for you guys. I know I definitely at the beginning of the season was just gung ho. I actually like the Chris Paul signing. Again, I don't hate it now. But obviously it was problematic just based on a lot of a lot of Kerrisms. But this team was never winning a title. It wasn't going to happen. I think we thought there was enough secondary scoring you could get from Clay, from Wiggins, and from Kuminga, and I think it's pretty obvious now that's not going to be enough. And that's probably the biggest piece. This team just doesn't have enough offensively. And I think going into the season, I thought they did. And after watching just the end of the season and watching, God, you brought it up, like watching these teams in the playoffs now, like aside from the Knicks, everybody has like a number two, like a legit like number two, number three, sometimes four guys you kind of count on to get some buckets, right? The Warriors, I would never bet on anybody scoring more than 15 outside of Steph. I mean, literally putting money down. If there's an over 15 for Kuminga, for Wiggins, for Clay, I wouldn't know when to take it. I didn't bet on Clay. I think Clay props until the last game of the season, and I was like, he's been hot for a long time, man. And my guy just made the sweetest donuts of all time. It was great. So, yeah, I think just the fact that I thought this team could win a title early on in the season, I thought they had enough. I thought that I think, and also I really thought Wiggins and Clay were going to show out this year. I thought Clay was going to have his best season since coming back from injury, and he ended up having a fine season, I guess overall you could say, right? But not it wasn't what we hoped for. Big miss.
Yeah, 100%. And that's kind of on my thing. I feel like going after that, obviously the championship run, and then the last season with the whole punch and everything like that, beating the Kings in 7. I feel like the thing that we talked about in the start of that summer was the Warriors had to raise the floor of the team, and yeah, I think they did that. I think that they had a deeper team than they did going into 21 or 20, whatever, 22, 23. I still said I still stand on, if they had last year's bench with the, like, now 2 years ago team, I think they fuck around and maybe they compete with Denver, maybe they go back to back, who knows, but they're in a much better situation than they were after they got bounced from the Lakers. But again, it was pretty clear that this season the issue was, that you had to raise the ceiling of the team now, and that's kind of where I think we realized that, like you said, Clay and Wiggins didn't have the season that we needed them to have, with the way this team was constructed. Draymond missing 20 plus games, and you really just relying on Steph to carry on nights, and he did in the beginning of the season. He had, forget how many games it was before somebody else scored 20 points and the Warriors are still kind of afloat. But then Steph, obviously, you could see it as the season progressed. He had probably the biggest slump of his career. Maybe that 22-1 was close, but it felt like Steph was off for a lot of times after that, after the All-Star game. So just I think for me now, the realization is, they did find raising the floor of the team, but the ceiling is now where they got to focus on, because yeah, you can't have Clay and Wiggins as your second options. Kuminga again showed a lot of stuff last season, but again the consistency, like Matt brought up. So the fact that the Warriors don't have an actual number two, you really have to raise the ceiling of this team now. I think floor wise, they're actually not bad. Like you guys said, they had 45 or 43 wins the year before, and I think they ended at 47 or 46 or whatever they ended at. So like wins wise, I think I had them being a 50-win team, and they were right around there just with how many games they tricked off, like legitimately could have won. And I think that it is what it is. But I think it's clear now that you really have to go out and get like Steph some help because and again, not to say that they like I think the way they built the roster was more so for Steph save us and the rest of these guys to step up. It kind of was a combination of Steph having to do too much and these guys didn't step up. So a lot of speculation for what's going to be going down. Obviously Clay with the free agency coming up. Today Shams had a report that him and the Magic have mutual interests. Just kind of watching them. Seems like a thing, the shooter that they could definitely use out there. And Clay is going to be demanding some money. So obviously a lot of questions going into the offseason in terms of, who's going to be back, who's going to be on the roster, what big names can they potentially land. But just touching on the Clay stuff, man, just to get it out of the way, like obviously Clay's a free agent, big decision coming up. What do you think he's going to leave? Do you buy it? Obviously there's interest. I can see why a team like the Magic would want to talk to a guy like Clay, just a knockdown shooter, something they need. A good defensive team, a team on the rise. Maybe a Clay type piece away from, being in the Eastern Conference Finals or the second round and going on a run. Obviously East being much, much weaker. Even teams like Boston, Milwaukee, who, you're seeing them struggle as well. So, yeah, Matt, what's your thoughts, man? Do you buy the interest part? And even on a larger sense, is Clay going to be around this offseason? And should he be back?
So I do buy the interest. I think you kind of mentioned it, like good young defensive team is kind of the best spot for Clay right now in a lot of ways. Like him sliding next to Suggs, Paolo, Franz, and like one of Carter or Isaac is just like he doesn't have to do a lot of defense at that point. That's we know where Clay is at defensively now. It's not as bad as many like to make it, but he's not great anymore, right? I do buy it. I think that getting Clay, getting 2-year, I could take a 2-year $80 million deal type thing, or like a 2-year $60 million deal somewhere else. It's just like I do think he probably wants to stay a Warrior, but at a certain point, when do the Warriors say no? Like, what is the number that they cap off at? Like for me, I can't imagine them paying him more than 22, $22 million a year. Obviously, maybe if Orlando says 25, in that case, I think you match that, right? But you can't pay Klay Thompson $30 million a year right now. Like he's not there anymore. You can't justify it. This team needs to, and be more, just conservative with how they're spending, and not because like I don't give a shit about Julian's wallet. Obviously, I don't care at all. But there are penalties that go along with this. You lose at mid-level. You lose all kinds of perks, right? When you're spending too much, especially on a team that's been a playing team, 2 of the last 4 years, first round or second round out last year. So yeah, I buy it. I don't think I could see 2 for 60 from Orlando. I also wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this is smoke screening from Clay's camp as well. Just trying to put some pressure on because, hey, I can't imagine too many teams are paying Klay Thompson 25 to 30 million. However, Gautam, again, back to the fit, he fits there. It'd be a good move for them to sign him next year. And we saw how just clunky their offense was. And if it's just Klay is obviously on that team, the third guy at like best, you're okay. Like, you'll feel okay about that offense next year.
Yeah, I'm with you on the money point for sure. Like, so to me, what that reads, and especially with the Shams report coming out, is it's always important to remember like teams don't leak this stuff. Like you got to think about who has incentive to have this leaked. And who has incentive more than Klay Thompson and his agents who are going to see a smooth 5-6% cut of that contract? So, it does read like a leverage play. Being a San Francisco Giants fan, I know all about being the leverage team where a player comes to you, he negotiates a deal, And then he takes that deal and goes back to the team he actually wants to go to and says, I need something in this ballpark or else I'm going to take this. And so that kind of feels like the vibe right now is that Clay is going to explore what's out there because, if the Warriors are like hard around like 20 million, if that's where they want to be, and some other teams giving him 30, I'm sure Clay wants to stay if it works, but an extra $10 million a year is a lot of money, especially when you're moving out of California. So you're getting out of that tax bracket. That makes a big difference. So, if another team comes in with 2 for 60, and Clay's not getting, if he's getting like 2 for 40 or 3 for 60 from Golden State, then I could definitely see him taking that. But ultimately, I still feel like the Warriors need Clay. Clay needs the Warriors. And taking him back, I think what they're going to end up doing is they're going to end up pushing it to 3 years. So I think they do something like 3 for 50, 3 for 55, where the total money is going to be higher. I think Clay's 33, so he goes and hits free agency again in 2 years, and what's that going to look like? So I do think that there's going to be this leverage played so he can get that third year from Golden State and come back. I would expect that to be at least around half of his cap hit, that 43 million mark. So I still think a deal ends up getting done. I think the real question for me, and kind of rolling into our discussion about what they have to do this offseason is what does that mean for Chris Paul? Because $30 million non-guaranteed, Clay comes back or leaves, and the Warriors are suddenly thinking, hey, we can clear like 70 mil off the books and go from the deepest in the tax that anyone has ever been all the way back to under the cap. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I think CP3 is a good starting point. Like, what do we feel happens on that, Gotham?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just on the Clay stuff as well. Like, I think for Clay specifically, it's going to come down to that third year because I think you get everybody's locked up then for two more cracks at it. With Steph, with Draymond, with Steve Kerr, and now with Clay. And with the way the front office has been talking about, bringing back Draymond and having Steph signed till 27 and the Kerr extension. So it feels like, if they're going to go all in and keep these three, they might as well go all in and keep Clay as well. And I think, again, it's going to come down to, I think if you pay him around Draymond money, 25, 26, I can live with that. I can live with that. I mean, I want Clay back. But you know what I mean? But like, I think the team can be able to live with that. And so, yeah, I think for on the Chris Paul front and like the moves they need to make, I think what they really need this summer is to see if you can get a certified number two. And there's so many names being floated around, from LeBron to KD to, Brandon Ingram to DeJounte Murray to guys that, you need to, I think if Clay comes back and he's your, number three guy, which he would be on a team like the Magic, great option. I think Clay can still, be that knockdown shooter. The gravity of Clay is still the same. We saw it in chunks this year off the bench. So, Clay being open to taking another role and somebody sliding into that, 2 or 3 spot, whether that's, CP and Wiggins, getting off of that, maybe JK is on the move. He's an asset that you can move, but I think that Chris Paul contract, if you're able to move that, like you said, just get a lot of money off the books, but you can get a lot back in return for a team that may be looking to sell on, a fringe star or somebody that's not panned out in the way they want, but in the Warriors system, we saw it with Andrew Wiggins, Harrison Barnes, so many guys, JaVale McGee, David West, who came here, obviously the season vet, just so many guys who, just thrive more in the Warrior system. So, I look at a guy like, Brandon Ingram or DeJounte Murray, somebody that's, not the LeBron or the KD type, but who can come in and, barring health, a guy like BI, I think next to Steph or next to Clay, next to Draymond, I think opens up his game a lot more, scoring wise, and something the Warriors really need. So I think Clay, I'm with you, Chuck. I'm more on the side of I'm pretty sure something gets done. I think this is all just like classic negotiating free agency stuff. But the Chris Paul front, the Wiggins front, like the people that you kind of need to take a hard look in the mirror. Like if you're not the core three plus, if essentially if you're not Clay or Steve Kerr at this, Steve Kerr's locked up. If you're not Clay, who are we find moving off of? And I think Chris Paul and Wiggins are your two easiest ones that can net you back, 50 something million, and can hopefully be the starting point for some sort of deal to go out and actually get a number two. Because with the youth that they have, with the Pods, TJD, Moody, there's going to be pieces that you can move off of and guys that you can keep. So I think from this floor point of the team, they'll be able to keep a decent chunk. But it's if can you make a move to raise the ceiling of that? And I think that there's definitely something out there, and I there's a lot of names being moved around. So yeah, would love to see that be the direction the front office takes this summer to really maximize these last 2 years, because you have everybody under contract for 2 years at this point. So might as well raise that roster for the next 2 years and then see where the chips fall then.
Yeah, I think I just one part I would push back on. I just don't. I think everybody besides Steph should be not on the table, but like the only thing should just be getting better. Like get a number two. That's that. I think I totally agree with that. They need to get somebody else, and I literally mean somebody else who can put the ball on the floor and attack. And that has to be the first thing you do. Like we'll get into targets and whatnot, I'm sure, over the next few weeks, right? I love the Ingram idea. I know some people aren't as high on it. Again, if the Warriors get anybody, I don't care, man. Like it's one of those things where at this point, I'm just like, get someone who can score. Get somebody who can score and create for somebody else every now and then. Like it's incredible to watch these teams right now. There's so many guys that can put the ball on the floor. The Warriors don't have it, and it was so obvious they didn't have it, right? They just need to get better, and I think they need to be realistic about the priority for me is being realistic about what you do have and what you need to keep, and it's obviously Steph. And I think Draymond's right there. It's this team needs to figure out also how to not be so reliant on Draymond defensively, because it truly is a testament to some poor roster construction of this team for however many years now can't defend without Draymond out there. But no, I agree. It's got to be a number two. There's going to be a lot of guys available this summer. Woj has reported like multiple times he expects this to be a pretty just exciting summer in terms of player movement. So you can't sit on the sidelines this summer. That you got to make moves. And again, I don't think anybody besides Steph should be. I don't think anybody should be a lock and be brought back besides Steph. The goal should be to build the best team you can this summer with the assets you have, which, like you said, are quite a fucking few.
Yep. No, I think that's the silver lining here for the Warriors, is that there's a lot of directions they can go in. And so here's my vision for this offseason. Klay Thompson, bring him back, 3-year deal. Try to get it under 20 million AAV. But let's just assume he gets like 3 for 60. So you get Klay back, you cut Chris Paul, there's a lot of rumors going around that GP2 would opt out and then take a smaller extension.
I think he said that. I think he actually said it out loud. He would
in the exit interview.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. So, I mean, if the guy's saying it out loud, I mean, that feels like they're just waiting to put pen to paper. So let's assume that's like, 3 for 15 million, cut his cap hit by about 4 mil. And then I think they got to just, bite the bullet. I mean, franchise hero, give the man his statue, but Kevon Looney, 5 of that 8 million is non-guaranteed. So you make all those moves. You re-sign Klay, renegotiate with Gary Payton, waive Chris Paul and Kevon Looney. That gets you to $14 million in cap space, not just under the tax, cap space.
Wow.
You get the full mid-level exception, in addition to being able to sign veteran contracts. They're going to have a second-round pick coming up, but that also leaves you some room. So, I mean, MLE guys, if you're looking at the free agent list, that's probably like some more depth guys. Maybe that's something for a guy like a Gordon Hayward, Buddy Hield, like kind of a bench scoring guy. Maybe, I mean, dream scenarios like a KCP, if he's willing to accept that kind of deal, but I think he would be able to get a lot more. But still, like, you'll get some solid depth out of that. And the dream is that now you look at it and you go, okay, we're now under the cap, so we can maneuver a little bit easier on trades. Now we package Andrew Wiggins, we package him with Moses Moody. I'm pretty sure you'd have to include another minimum contract, so they may be Lester Quinones, E. Santos, something like that, something just to like move salary along. Um, and that's when you have to go for a guy who can be a legitimate creator. That's where I think you need to go for a Mikal Bridges, because I think he brings a lot of the defense that you're supposed to get from Andrew Wiggins, in addition to a lot better scoring. We've seen, even though Steph is diminished, like I think Mikal Bridges has his flaws, but I think he's better as a scorer right now than Jordan Poole was in that championship run, because he had a lot of inconsistencies to his game. He wasn't like an elite. He was kind of a poor playmaker, I think, at times, just didn't really take care of the ball. So that would be, I think, my dream player to acquire. I mean, Zach LaVine would be interesting because he'd be the best number two Steph's had. It's not named Kevin Durant. So that would be interesting. I don't know how you work that defensively as
It's also
much.
tough to make that work without CP, I think. Being part of something because he's at 45, 46, I want to say. Maybe 41, but he's
Yeah, then
getting there
they
tough.
can't get there with Wiggins, Moody, and extras. But yeah, I think like you get yourself into the free agent pool, like you are able to use that mid-level exception. You still have the salary needed to go and trade for a star. I think you can include some pick swaps as well, and the right team would look at Moses Moody and be happy about that. Um, and then I think the important too is that would reset them on the tax penalties. So Jonathan Kuminga, like whatever his flaws, he's not a player you're going to let walk. You got to extend him. Um, give him his extension. I mean, that's going to put them into the tax back next year, but they're reset. They'll have softer penalties. They'll have softer rules. So I think that would be the win-win for both sides, because you would build a solid team around Steph. You give them a much better chance at making a contending run. You keep the trio together, and ownership saves a lot of money that way. And an added benefit too is that this would finally be the end to the whole two timeline shit. It would just be like, oh, okay, well now we have a serious team full of veterans and good rotation players, and then we have a few young guys like Pods, TJD, and Kuminga that have all shown that they can be positive contributors, and that's the kind of team you need in terms of depth and talent to make an actual playoff run.
Yeah, that is probably the dream scenario, is being able to turn. I mean, are you, Chuck, you're not the biggest BI guy from my understanding. Are you turning Wiggins and Kuminga into Ingram?
I I wouldn't do it for Jonathan. I would do it if the price is like Wiggins, Moody, and a pick, you know,
Yep.
because I mean, like Steve Kerr, I think has shown more than a lot of people would be willing to say is that he is flexible in some aspects. And I think you've seen, his general thing is like half a second or less, make a decision with the ball. That's always kind of been his thing. It's like decide whether you're going to pass, drive, or shoot as soon as you can. Um, that's not exactly Brandon Ingram's thing. And he's not a really versatile passer. Like I think he does some good connective things well, but he's not necessarily a playmaker. Um, so that concerns me a little bit because I like a guy who, when he goes and he runs his offense, we're not just like, oh, he's gonna like get to the rim or shoot a mid range, and that's kind of all you can expect out of that. It's like you need someone who, when Steph's not having his night, you need someone who can drive, make some good passes. So are they going to get a little bit of that from Brandon Podziemski? Yeah. Does Clay do a little bit of that sometimes? Yeah, but they need someone who can consistently do it and in a pretty snappy fashion. I just don't think that's Brandon Ingram's game.
Fair. Yeah. I mean, I'm a minor now where it's like, get somebody you can score. And I like Ingram's playmaking more than you do. I think he's got the passing chops that he's shown in years past. But here we are though.
Even
Chances are,
like on the Ingram front, like Team USA, like Steve Kerr, I feel like he got benched a couple times, or if
he
not,
did.
or didn't start. Some I remember there's some sort of
Yeah.
stuff. So not sure how even Ingram feels playing for Steve Kerr and how Steve Kerr feels about Brandon Ingram. So, but again, a
So
lot of names to like. I think Bridges would be sick. But yeah, like there's a lot of like Chuck, the way you broke that down, like just with the roster moves that they can make. There's a lot of directions that this franchise can go this summer to put a legitimate team, like you said, and give them a shot to contend over the next couple of years. Because these young teams, man, just watching the playoffs right now, the Warriors got to make some serious moves. Like this offseason is big if they want to have any chance of getting number 5 with this core, and with Steph while he's here. So. Definitely, if the time's now to make take advantage of what you can. If you can get under under the cap, that's incredible. I didn't even think that was possible. But a lot of moves, and so a lot as this season kind of comes to an end here over the next couple months. Some a lot of stuff to watch out for. But before we get out of here, boys, playoffs are going on. Lot of fun teams, players, matchups here in the second round. Just real quick, get your predictions for each series, and then also just which young guy or young, I guess, new generation guy do you think comes out of each conference or even just who's gonna make the biggest stride, I guess. And I feel like we might all have similar answers to that one, but not Chuckster, start with you, man. Playoff predictions for the second round, and your kind of guy or team that you're like, okay, I'm down for these guys.
Yeah, well, let me just just going on the matchups, I think Pacers are going to take this series. I was really intrigued with what I saw in them from an offensive standpoint. I think they can really hang with this Knicks team. Um, it's the Celtics, I feel like, are just going to beat the brakes off the
Yeah.
Cavs. Like, as fun as that first round series was, like, they just are an absolute machine. Even no Porzingis is tough, but they're star-studded. Um, Out west, I still think, I feel like the Mavs are kind of the trendy pick because they got a lot of playoff experience and, they really like to slow it down. They've got a lot of good defenders and they're really meshing as like a defense. But I still think the Thunder, man, like that Clippers team did not look good, except for like one game. They did not really look like a believable playoff team. So I'm going Thunder there. And oh man, I want to pick the Wolves, like I really do, but the Nuggets just have such a feeling of inevitability that even losing game one, like I still feel like they're gonna move on. I still think they go all the way to the title. Like I haven't gone off Denver, Boston as my finals. And yeah, man, Boston's got some demons, and if Denver punches their way all the way out of this Western Conference to go play the Celtics, I think they're gonna come in just like they're just like what oh God, what's the guy's name from Die Hard?
Bruce
Don
Willis.
Why am I
McLean.
forgetting the Yeah, dude, it's like McLean just like stumbling out of like a ceiling vent, just like covered in blood, and all these other guys, they're looking good, they're ready for a fight, and he just fucking kills them all. It doesn't matter how beat up he is. Jokic is my John McClane for the playoffs.
So I love all that. I don't really disagree for the most part. The only thing I'd probably who cares disagree? We're making predictions. The only prediction I would have that's different might be I think I'm taking Dallas in that series. Luka didn't have a good first round. I can't imagine that guy has 2 bad series in a row. I I just so Rudy Gobert is out tonight against the Nuggets, but I actually think is big. And I know of course it's big to be clear. Like I'm just saying they made the Nuggets look really uncomfortable. Like Jokic looked the most, I'm not going to say disoriented because I don't think he that has that capacity. You know what I mean? But just like borderline uncomfortable that I've ever seen them look. That whole team just they made the Nuggets look beatable. So I would love to see the Wolves come out. Also, they got them as far as stars go. We're all going to say yeah, right? Like this guy just looks like he's the best American player in the world right now. Maybe like he probably is. So no, I think I'm taking Wolves. I'm gonna go crazy and take Wolves in the series. I'm gonna take Dallas, I'm taking the Knicks, and I'm taking the Celtics. Can we just also pause? The Eastern Conference, man. I'm sorry. You got the Wolves, the Nuggets, the Thunder, the um, Mavericks. All would have been top 5 teams in the East. Pardon me. Okay, none of the teams in the East that are there right now would be there in this conference. Just saying. Anyway, so what a soft run for Boston. I do fully expect them not to make it. If things go crazy, who knows? Maybe Jalen Brown's a Warrior next year. I'm just saying it's possible. Okay. Um, Otherwise, though, no, that's my picks. As far as title goes, it's just tough, man. Chuck, that analogy is good. It has me thinking of the scene where he's walking barefoot on glass, and like that's gonna be whoever comes out of the
Yep.
West. I feel like you know what I'm talking about. So, um, yeah, gee, I'm thinking Minnesota. I think to win the title, man. I think Ant's gonna have just a crazy, Dwayne Wade like run in his early 20s, man.
That'd be so sick. No, I'm with you. I got the. I don't know why I want to take the Knicks just because I like them more, but the Pacers are putting up a good fight, so we'll see. I still lean Knicks in that one. Yeah, I got Celtics beating the shit out of the Cavs. Then out west, yeah, I think I got the Mavs beating the Thunder. I just like Luca more than I like SGA. I think that push comes to shove, I think the Mavs have gone through some playoff bumps. The Thunder haven't. I think that plays a big role, especially so for some of these young teams. So I'm gonna lean to the Mavs on that one. And then yeah, I feel like the Nuggets are going through their like 2016 OKC team. This Wolf team is genuinely might be better than them. They have the size, they have the athleticism, they have the scoring and Ant and Cat.
They're deep.
Ant's a fucking superstar. And that 2016 OKC Warriors series, I to this day I will say that that's the only time I ever felt the Warriors were fully like not the better team. Throughout their run, and I'm even trying to think of if I'm sleeping on it. Even in the Rockets like 18 series, like it still felt like the Warriors would pull that out. I down 3-1 to that OKC team. I don't remember feeling more like these guys just might be better than us. Fully like for the most part healthy or whatever. But so I think it's gonna be a really cool like just legacy series for like guys like Jokic, Jamal Murray, this core for the Nuggets, Michael Malone, because the Warriors won that series based off the greatness of like Steph, Clay, and Draymond, and obviously like everybody else has stepped up. But
Hey, I don't want you to forget the main man, Andre Iguodala, for
yeah,
putting
shout
the
out Iggy. Yeah,
absolute
dude, shout
clamps
out, shout
down
out
on Kevin
Iggy.
Durant,
Yeah,
man.
shout out Iggy. Like just they won the greatness off. This is the kind of series that I feel like makes them all time greats. And so they're going up against an absolute Goliath in Minnesota. So I will give the edge to the Nuggets just because they're the defending champs. But if Minnesota comes out and shocks the world, I wouldn't be shocked. Like Ants, like you said, Matt, just on he's on a generational tear. I think starting to put it all together. Just insane. Just looking back, how the Warriors maybe could have traded up to the first pick. Maybe still would have taken James Wiseman and made this whole thing even worse. But glad we didn't have the opportunity to fumble Ant. But man, if he was a Warrior, man, that would have been just the perfect kind of falling into your lap. You get Steph Curry and then you get the next Michael Jordan. So I'm rooting for Ant, man. I really want to see the Knicks and the T Wolves do some damage this year. Just for guys like Dante, always fun to watch, and obviously Ant. So but those are my predictions. But we're in for a fun second round. There's a lot of fun matchups here. Loading up. Before we get out of here, boys, obviously. Oh yeah, Chuck, sir, go for it.
I forgot to. I got to shout out my players. I figured Ant would be a guy who came up, but I had to get a little creative with it. One that's kind of just sneaking up on me is I think we're looking at like, I mean, it's kind of 2 straight years of Michael Porter Jr. being a playoff riser. I think especially with his defense, the shot making. Second straight year, we averaging 8 boards a game. He's shooting 50% on 8 threes a game, 22 points a game right now. So I mean, it's just when you have a dude who's 7 foot and can hit movement threes like that and make an impact on the glass, like that'll cover up a whole lot of like rushed Jokic games or injured Jamal appearances. Um, and on the East, like, I mean, I got to keep going with my prediction because I think Pacers are going to the conference finals. I'm just loving what I'm seeing from Andrew Nemhart right now. Like he is such like he's just that guy you need if you have a Tyrese Halliburton. Like he is taking all the tough assignments. Like he's trying to go toe to toe with Jalen Brunson, who's as hot as you can be right now as a scorer and doing a good job. And the guy just hits all the shots that teams are going to give him. He's shooting 54% in the mid range and 45% from deep during these playoffs. So, you know, when you have Tyrese, when you have Pascal Siakam, like there are going to be guys who get those kind of open shots. If Nemhard's just like, all right, cool, I'm going to just hit all of them, then that'll do a whole lot for you. So, yeah, those are some dudes I'm shouting out. Excited to watch them cook tonight.
Yeah, Chuck. I mean, I think you went directions with that neither of us were going to. So I hope Nemhard finds some time to thank you, man, because that's the shout out of a lifetime. I love that, dude.
Anthony Edwards and Andrew Nemhard in the same sentence. I love it.
It's great, man.
Yep.
The two guys, you know. Well, guys, Gotham, take us home, man.
Hey man, as always, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for hopping back on. We're starting our off-season workouts now, so we'll get a lot of content up. Guests from all these playoff teams get their kind of thoughts of a playoff run, a finals run. Seeing as though we have a lot of experience with that, so we can talk about. We've seen a few in our lifetime. Seen a few banners raised, so it's a good place to come talk if you're trying to be a champ. The Warriors Invitational. But other than that, guys, a lot of episodes coming. Appreciate y'all hopping on, man. But till the next episode, peace.